think sometimes we get so serious about every little detail in a fandom that we get in our own way of enjoying it. I've been, as I work in my day job, working on the haunted houses, working on some stuff in the SCP fandom, and one of the things that they say is, contradictions are fine, just go with it and have fun. And I think the same thing really needs to apply to some of these movies, and especially with maybe the newest one. People go into it with the idea of, instead of picking it apart for every little thing, maybe just sit back, enjoy it, and maybe try to figure out whose eyes you're seeing the story through. Because I know we have a lot of returning characters, but we also have new characters, some of whom weren't even born when the first 3 came out, which is weird. That's weird for me, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much so.
Or one of them I heard doing an interview, and they asked her some question. She was like, "Oh, no, I haven't seen any of them in theaters because I was too little. My mom didn't want me to see it yet." For the 4th one. That was the 4th one. She was too little. And I was like...
Yeah, I'm going to have to call AARP.
Let me go color my hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you look at Temple of Doom through that lens, then there's a lot of forgiveness that can be given for cultural misappropriation, shall we say.
Yeah.
Where we pulled in things from, we're anywhere on the Asian continent, so we can pull anything from anywhere in Asia and throw it into one ceremonial theme together. And obviously it has problems like that.
But they do that in Last Crusade too. I was kind of trying to point this out a little while we were watching it. I love Sala as a character, especially in Raiders, because he seems more competent in Raiders. In Last Crusade, he didn't get as Brodied as Brody does in Last Crusade, because in Raiders, Marcus Brody is not portrayed as a bumbling idiot at all.
No.
In Last Crusade, he goes back and forth between being a partner at the museum and him with Indy and all that to getting lost in his own museum, which that's new to the Last Crusade, or the mythos there. That was introduced there. Sala, who I love, felt like the plug-and-play Arab character, because when they end up looking for the Grail, by modern flight, is a good 5.5, 6 hour airplane ride from Cairo, where Sala was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And yes, I know, they say go get Sala, go make travel arrangements or whatever. But where they're digging for the Grail is nowhere near where the best digger in Cairo happens to live in Raiders, and maybe he moved.
And I don't know about you, but I don't think I could borrow my brother-in-law's car for a 7-hour each-way drive or whatever.
Right. So it, there are some moments. Oh, we need an Arab? Let's throw this guy in.
Well, it's John Rhys Davies, isn't he?
Right.
It's the 80s. What are you gonna do?
It is the 80s. It's Last Crusade is still 80s, right?
90s?
Yeah. It's the 80s. Filmmaking practices and cultural viewpoints were a little bit different then, and that's fine. It is what it is, and we're not faulting the movie for it. Product of its time. It doesn't take me out of it. Anyway, I'm glad Sala was there, though. He should have been in Crystal Skull, though, too, at the wedding. As should have been a grown-up short round, but, I wanted everybody at the end of the wedding there. I wanted a wedding in Crystal Skull similar to the wedding at the end of Muppets Take Manhattan, where all the Muppets from Sesame Street show up because they all knew Kermit. I wanted all of the side characters that survive to show up at the wedding in Crystal Skull just for a moment. Give me Short Round, give me Sala, just for a moment. I don't need Willie, even though she'd probably be the easiest one to schedule since she's married to the director, but give me all the other ones. So previously, you told me The Last Crusade was your favorite.
Yeah.
Is it because it's the one that you've seen the most, you think?
I guess it's a little bit that, but it's also, I knew the most about that treasure, having been raised Roman Catholic, and I've read some other stuff in connection with the Holy Grail. I'm a big fan of Arthurian legends. If there's a movie or a show or anything about Arthur or Merlin or any of that, I've read it, and that's very closely connected with Grail lore, the whole Arthurian thing.
One of the first movies I ever bought for myself was Excalibur.
So
okay. I'm right there with you. Yeah.
so I knew a lot about that. So then when it came to things like the puzzles, like when they got to the Word of God, I was like, oh, I know this already. I know it starts with an I, and he's gonna step on the J, and I love anticipating the funny. And I mean, not that we want Indy to like fall to his death, but he doesn't die, so it's okay to laugh, right? It's only gallows humor. It's not graveyard humor.
Fair enough.
Like that. Anyway, so I felt like I understood some of the world surrounding that puzzle in a way that I didn't really know as much about the Ark of the Covenant or in the second one. Is it the Shankara stones?
Yeah, which is another thing that I think a lot of people have issue with when it comes to Temple of Doom, is it's not rooted in Judeo-Christian mythology or lore or religion, that the MacGuffin has nothing to do with most of us white folk in the U.S. know anything about. So I think that's another reason why Temple of Doom kind of pushes people away.
Yeah.
So I was just curious about the Last Crusade, because I remember that one getting played a lot on television.
That's
it seemed
true.
to be the one that, because it did so well, it got played all over the place and continued to do well. It was basically the Star Trek 4 of the Indiana Jones films. Everybody loved it. It was an easier buy-in, so everybody continued to love it, and found more people to love it as it got shown.
Okay, so that's fair. That yes, it's probably the one that I've seen the most. Although, like I said, we had the set of them on VHS, so I could have watched any of them anytime, and did. Yeah, I think some of it is that, but some of it really is just the content of the particular storyline. I actually really found the storyline in 4 fascinating. That was something that I didn't have a lot of knowledge of before, and so then I kind of went and looked some stuff up relating to that, and I find the whole Soviet spy era, and especially with the female assassin types and, or the female colonels so high up in the military, it was just not something that we had here in the United States. Women just didn't climb the ranks that fast, and so it's a neat exhibition of female empowerment and showing that, hey, it can be great, but it can also be bad. So, that kind of thing. Plus, I mean, Marion's
True. That was kind of a big deal, is to get Marion back. Marion Ravenwood is the best woman for Indy.
Oh, she's best girl, absolutely, yeah.
Dr. Schneider or Willie, fine, whatever.
Poor Dr. Schneider. Poor Elsa. She just couldn't let it go.
Right. And I made that joke when we were watching it. I got that one.
But I worked it in.
Yes, you did. You said we had to make sure we brought it back. We watch the movies with subtitles on. We do that a lot these days. We don't want to turn it up so loud in case the sound mixes off. And when Indy punches somebody, it's a loud, meaty, sometimes juicy punching sound. And we don't need that reverberating throughout the house where there are other people working and sleeping and doing whatever else. But because the subtitles were on, I noticed how many times Henry Jones Sr. says the word intolerable in Last Crusade. So many times, this is intolerable, this is intolerable. And it just kind of went over my head before, like that's just one of his things. And then in Crystal Skull, when they're in the quicksand pit or the dry sand pit or whatever, and Indiana Jones says that to Mutt, it's like, oh, nice callback, they got me. Yeah.
When Marion and Mutt go, grab the rope, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. That is every stubborn dude ever,
Stop calling it a snake. Stop calling it a snake. Yeah. So I came away from this with a newfound appreciation for Crystal Skull. Now, hear me out. Don't turn this off. I think Shia LaBeouf's actions after the movie, where he didn't necessarily talk the most positive game about his experience making the movie or promoting the movie itself, or not promoting it. I think his actions weren't the most professional and probably damaged the film and the franchise and the reception of the movie long term for people. But I didn't think he was bad as Mutt.
No, he played the character well and sincerely. I mean, you saw the emotions on his face when he was feeling them, and if that is all his own hair, that is freaking amazing. It might actually be. He has hair about as curly as mine when it's fully curled, so that might actually be all his own hair.
Yeah.
But that's an amazing pompadour right there. And John Hurt is so good. To just stand up all of a sudden and be like, oh, now I'm not a zombie anymore. Okay.
I'm struggling here, and I hate to say it, because I love the character, but I really feel like Karen Allen was the weakest link of that cast.
Really?
And I can't even look at you or the camera when I say it. It's not that I disliked her, and I feel like she kind of lost a little bit of agency, and she spent a lot of time just smiling. And it's this big distracting type smile where she seems like she's just happy to be there. And I know part of it is because she hadn't been acting regularly. She did kind of come out of semi-retirement to do this. I love Marion Ravenwood, and I think once we got towards the end of the movie, I was okay with it. But I felt like the spunky, dangerous woman from the first film wasn't there anymore. And maybe it's because she had a kid.
Do you think that that's because she wasn't doing what she could with the actress wasn't doing what she could with the material given? Or do you think that the character wasn't given the right material by the writers, and they may have even underestimated her abilities because she hadn't been a working actor for a while and had been doing other things? They may have said, well, we want her on the project because we want to put the name on it and we want the face on it, but we have no idea what it's going to be like, so we've just written a small part. Possibly she could have done more. Possibly she did do more, and it's sitting on the cutting room floor. And I will give you one thing to think about in that once we become moms, us women often take a back seat in things, both because we always want our children to shine, and we want them to have a connection with their other parent as close as they can get to the one that we have with them, because when they're yours and you've had them inside you and, carried them around for 9 months and then carried them around for 18 more years on and off, it's a very special connection. And so we always, we want their dads to have that same connection with them. So I could see her pushing Mutt into the spotlight a little more. She's taking a back seat, and at the same time, her kid is insane when it comes to danger. He is his father's son, and she has to keep running after him and grabbing duck boats and driving them off of waterfalls. And look, if you're getting spoiled at this point, you didn't do your homework before watching. She's got to be a mom first and foremost, making sure that he's okay. And then she can, when he's safe, then she can at the end be fully herself and do something for herself. So I'm just, as a way to look at it through a different lens and maybe appreciate both the actors professionally. You can only do so much with what you're given. You have to stick with what you're given, and you don't get to just, it's not like improv night at the Funhouse Lounge. You're kind of intended to stick to the lines, otherwise the writers get mad about having to do rewrites or whatever.